Hello, and welcome to November 15th, 2022. My name is Kurt Bell, and this is my daily Good Life meditation video, a video that I make, or at least an activity that I do, each and every morning just after waking up. It's 4:25 a.m. right now, to prepare myself for the day by thinking about my life objectives and principles, touching each of them one by one, reflecting on how I was able to use those yesterday with the opportunities and challenges I met, and to plan for the coming day. So let's begin. And good morning, Parker. All right, yesterday and last night, slept really well last night, except for the last hour. I was up at 3 a.m. and just in kind of like just laying there I must have laid there for a full hour. And I do feel that as a consequence, I don't feel as rested as I did yesterday morning, for example. But it wasn't an hour of anxiety, which is typically the case. Usually that hour before the alarm goes off is one where I will lay awake thinking about my job and the challenges at work and how my projects are doing, and perpetually worried about, whether I'll lose my job. It's been a worry all my life. Well, not all my life. All my life as ever since I had that experience in 2008 when I lost my business and wound up practically homeless with my family. My wife being a stay-at-home mom, and Emily in school as she was only 8 years old, and the global recession struck and wiped out my business, and I didn't have the foresight to see that I was spiraling down a drain hole, and I rode the damn thing all the way into the drain, and I remember being on the verge of losing everything. And I've told this story before, how I had to get on my bicycle. I printed up a bunch of resumes and got on my bicycle and pedaled my ass all over the town that we lived in, went to every English language school that I could find, and walked in and introduced myself and said I was looking for work, and wound up getting back on my feet as a result. Although it was a mortal blow to my ego and my it was a mortal blow to the man I was. He died, and I became the person who I am now as a result. Largely, what I am now is just flavors of the results of all of that. And as Yumiko pointed out, she likes me better now. There's something to be said for poverty, risk, and danger when we get out the other side. And foolishness, and stupidity, and rashness, and ego, and all of those things that can be worn away. I made a video years ago back in Japan talking about hiking up in a mountain just above a stream, talking about how we are like rocks tumbling down a river from a jagged rock fall up high in the mountains, where we each fall off like a jagged piece of rock, a big piece of rock with like rough edges, and then over the course of centuries, maybe, we tumble down the river to the sea. We wind up as a smooth pebble at the other end, maybe even a grain of sand. That's each of us, and each of those biting tumbles through the water, through the river, the churning river, takes a bit out of us. We lose what is superfluous, and we become something smaller and better, I think, for the loss of what we didn't need. Anyway, I started sleeping poorly then, and it's never really gone away. And because that fear for my family's sake. And for my sake, but largely for my family's sake. If I was single and alone, I think I could weather just about anything. I could become homeless, and I've been homeless, hitchhiking around the United States in summers, 3 summers that I did that. I was literally a vagabond sleeping on the side of freeways. No money, nothing. I once made it 3 states without a meal. And then again, when I went to university, I was so stupid as to not bring any reasonable means to survive. Hold on. So that's what it was like this morning. But it wasn't panic or anxiety that I felt. I was just kind of sitting there in the same way that we sit in a hot tub when no one's around. I used to do that when we lived in the various Irvine Company apartments. I'd go for a swim. I swim every day. Go for a swim. So this daily swim in the ocean is only new to me in terms of the venue. I used to swim in the nice pools. They had saltwater pools at the various Irvine Company apartment complexes. And then afterwards, if it was cold, I would go sit in the hot tub and all by myself. And typically, I don't run the bubble machine. I would just sit there in the quiet. Usually I did this in the evening or lunchtime, but if it was in the evening and there was nobody around, especially in the winter, the sun would go down. And here in Southern California, we have just magnificent evenings. The sundown and the quiet light would dim. The water would be still and warm. My body would be, limber from the exercise. My day's work done. And I would just kind of sit there thoughtless and at peace. And that's what it felt like from 3 to 4 this morning, although I would have preferred to have slept a little more. I wonder if that's what waits ahead in retirement, when I don't have to worry about ends meet, and I don't have to worry about, the stress of a job. Maybe for a brief few years, I can have that kind of peace before, the body starts to give up, the mind starts to dull, etc., etc. I already feel it. Arthritis runs in my family, and I feel the pain in my joints. Heart disease runs in my family. And, I'm ready for that. I'm ready to drop. Although I do a good job of keeping ahead of things, etc., etc. Otherwise, yesterday was a really good day. A lot of work done, even though I didn't have very many meetings. I think I only had 3 meetings, and one of them got canceled. But I plowed ahead. Push. And I had the second meeting of the 2, the last meeting of the day. The team and I came up with a roadmap forward, and I'll reach out to my coworker today, and he and I will get together and map out our December 1st presentation to the steering committee. So that's good. That was on my mind. It wasn't on my mind when I woke up, but it's been on my mind for the last week since my big project, the election, finished. And my other project is going well. It's la-di-da-da. Just carry on. Today I'll get to today. Let's do the good life. 7 objectives, 32 principles. The first, and by the way, all of these objectives and principles, and largely all of the ideas that I talk about in these videos, are described and discussed in my book, Going Alone. I wonder if this will work. No, it doesn't. Does it? In my book, Going Alone. This is the story of my life, basically, the result of my endeavors to face down a universe seemingly without agency beyond us, beyond the agency that seems to swarm over this planet, and what to do with the fact that it appears there is no God, no one to look after us, no soul, no forever, no absolute right or wrong. What to make of that? How to make a good life, how to carve a good life of virtue out of that seeming aloneness. Gulp. Well, first off, it's a matter of not going alone. The going alone part is just to witness the emptiness. The punchline of the book is coming back and, finding and being with our people. This is the very first picture of Yumiko and I ever, roughly 36 years ago. She's my person. Our daughter is our purpose. And together we have formed a life together. So that's the punchline of going alone. These resulting 7 objectives and 32 principles are what were formed along the way, and how I get by, and how I make my life meaningful in a universe without meaning, without meaning of its own, other than if we look at the universe objectively, it seems that the only meaning out there is the forward path of entropy, the seeming motion of time, and the what appears to be some sort of an end of black holes. Yes, who was it? Was it Lawrence Krauss who said that if the universe is tuned for anything, it seems to be tuned for the creation of black holes, which has seemingly nothing to do with us. We're kind of just artifacts. Anyway, I'm way off in the weeds. Come back, Kurt. Let's do my 7 objectives. Number 1 is to be always ready to die, to have my life affairs and my relationships and my life's work in order. And they are. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, to squeeze useful endeavor out of every day. Not absolutely every minute of every day, but to do some things. And I usually list them now on my little chart there, what I'm going to try to do today. I should check against that. I should do it, make the list, and then the next day check if I did those things. I'll do that beginning today. 3, to develop and maintain. The maintenance part is important. That's what I'm doing right now. I've already developed, let me finish my sentence, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles and objectives. That's what I'm doing right now. And I've already developed them. That's the 32 and 7 that I talk about now and that are in my book. The maintenance is keeping them tuned. What I do every day, looking at them, thinking about them, shining the light on them. And I do that now through my social media. I've really changed the entire apparatus of my social media to become a venue of marketing, so to speak, for my book Going Alone, where my aim is not to sell books necessarily. My aim is to share the message, because this works, and it doesn't require any faith or superstition or vain belief or allegiance to any dogma or authority. It simply requires a working mind, capable and willing to apply reason to the world around us, to be critically introspective in looking at the positions that we hold. That's all it takes. And so I've changed my social media to be basically, I'm sharing everything now, literally practically everything. And then I put the hashtags on the bottom, and the hashtags are all in the book too, showing this is a representation of the good life, going alone in the good life, and the resulting, I usually include one hashtag for one of the principles or objectives that I'm trying to illustrate with whatever social media post I'm making. Even if it's just as simple as yesterday, riding the skateboard to this market to pick up dog food, and a hashtag, and I did it on the skateboard instead of the car, and it was fun. And so I hashtagged going alone, hashtag good life, hashtag principle of fun. It gives me delight just to think about it. Okay, the next objective is to cultivate good emotional reactions, just to react well to the life and world around me. 5 is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. 6 is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities. 7 is to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. Okay, now let's do my 32 principles. These are war, to always be fighting against any proposition that wants to be onboarded as truth, or that's already onboarded as truth, especially if it's of any consequence. Mundane truth claims I don't care about. I don't care if you tell me you've got a new puppy. I mean, I'll care, but I'll believe you. Absolutely. No evidence needed. 2, reason, and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation. Reason I guess it's my epistemology. It's the tool that I use to make out, to understand the world. And I have to be honest with myself and objective in my view, and a fierce skeptic and willing to accept the humiliation of discovering that I'm wrong. Together, those things make me a reasonable man. 3, the homunculus. I already told you that I don't think there's any God or gods. I don't think I have a soul, and I don't think that any of us lives forever. As a result, what I do focus on instead of a soul is my consciousness and your consciousness, which I label as the homunculus, a very old-fashioned term. You can look it up. It's quite interesting. It refers to the man inside the man. And I picture my consciousness just inside my forehead here, just where yours is at too, I suspect. The key thing is that that consciousness won't survive our deaths. It'll wink out like a candle flame being blown out, or disappear like music stopped. Where does the dance go when the dancers stop, etc., etc.? That's so too our consciousness. It's just a brain state, a consequence of the electrical impulses running through our nervous system and body. The homunculus, a little mortal inside. Next, and this is number 4, is the anchor hold. The anchor hold is the home of the homunculus. It's this animated corpse that will soon die away and take the homunculus out with it when my heart stops working. Again, that's another interesting word. Look up anchor hold, anchorite, anchoress, and you can find some very interesting history about where these words come from. Very interesting imagery too. Next, number 5 is purpose. I have 3 purpose in my life. These are to be a good husband and father. 2 is to be a virtuous man, where virtue is simply defined as seeking after the improvement of the well-being of creatures, particularly thinking creatures, creatures that can suffer pleasure and pain. And 3, the pursuit of the sharing of my personal life mission, which is the sharing of the story of going alone and the resulting good life creed, which is exactly what I'm doing right now. Every one of these videos is a little incremental fulfillment of that. It's like tapping, keeping the wheel spinning, tap, tap, tap. Every social media post is the same now. It's all one conspiratorial effort of sharing, of marketing, of propaganda even, if you like. Because it works, like I said, and I want to help. I want people to be at peace. I mean, none of us is really going to find perfect peace, but it's better than not having a set of purposes, and it's better than allegiance to a worldview that is based on flimsy evidence. 6 is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, falling to pieces, including us. 7, the principle of nature. Everything in the universe has some particular nature, including us. It's good to recognize what that is. I use this one all the time at work. What is the nature of my coworkers? What is the nature of my projects? What is the nature of the organization where I work? What is the nature of the circumstances of the current place and time? These things really help me to be to align my expectations with reality. Next comes the pirate ride. Free will is a very convincing yet seeming illusion. I don't think we're free. I think we're decision engines acting in accord with the universe all about us, the way that it's influencing us and nudging us and suggesting things to us. We have very little, if any, actual say. Although it sure does seem that way. I hold this position on faith. I can't prove it. But I don't know that anyone can prove that free will is actual either. So I choose to elect as an operational standard the idea that it is not. Although it has certainly not freed me from constantly thinking that it is. I would imagine the freedom that would come if I could really adopt that. Would it be just go lay on a beach somewhere and spend my days in the sun? Maybe, but I don't think so. Because I have too much hard work to do. There's too much suffering going on to warrant that, even if I'm not free. So I just carry on, thinking that I'm free, but inside, when I have my more sober moments, and suspecting, knowing even that it's not true. Next comes maturity, and the sub-principles of wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. We are mature when we wisely remember what has worked out for us in the past and what hasn't, and then have the fortitude to do better in the future, to not repeat our mistakes or to try to avoid repeating mistakes, and then also to do better and to continue along the pathways that do work. And then integrity is the result of that effort. It's the life that we get, that where our results match our values and our wisdom, so to speak. Next comes the social principle. We are social creatures. We need each other. I do strongly recommend finding someone to spend our lives with and doing the hard work of making that work, and then creating a life together. Going alone, again, is not about spending our lives alone, although that's fine. A lot of people choose that, and you can make that work just fine. But there's also something to be said for being together. And the sub-principles there are diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. Diplomacy is what we do when we work together to find reasonable ends. Yumiko and I have worked hard over our time together to be diplomatic, coming from two different cultures and value sets, to find a way compromises that work, and so much so that we hardly even think about them anymore. They're part and parcel of who we are. Our not, if not our DNA, at least our every essence has changed after all this time. Justice is what we're seeking after together, in a way, on a form. Justice to live and do right by our daughter and by the world that we interact with. And conspiracy is what we do when we link arms together to seek after those ends together. Next comes public speaking. Public speaking is the suggestion to learn to communicate well, to listen carefully, try to understand what other people are trying to say, and then to be very careful and good at being able to get our point across. It takes practice to do. The sub-principles there are best words, seeking after having a rich and deep vocabulary. You can get that from lots and lots of reading. Read, and underline every word that you don't know, and learn it and remember it, especially at a young age. And then you'll have a rich vocabulary to use throughout your life. And then choose those words carefully, using the best words, not the showy words necessarily, or the highfalutin words, but the best words to convey your meaning. Practice them through lots of speaking, and become eloquent. And then also use, and this is the hard part, prudence, to filter what comes out of our mouth or out of our pen, or through the fingers in the keyboard, through our value filter, so that what we're saying is, again, in alignment with our values and our best practices. That's a tricky thing, and it's a fun thing to do, though, when you can do it. Next comes distraction. In a universe without God, a lot of us don't want to see that. So we distract ourselves with lots of different things. Our work and our play and our hobbies and our religion, all of this stuff kind of helps us to keep our minds focused on busy work. And so we don't have to see that we're alone. The thing that we don't want to see is what I call the great indifference. It's this emptiness, seemingly captured, not seemingly, very well captured, by my daughter Emily, who did this art for the cover of my book, which is a desert scene. You can see the emptiness out there, the coming night and Venus up there. Go out and experience that emptiness, alone, deep, far, beyond the reach or the help of our fellows. And you too might encounter the great indifference, although it's not easy to find. You can't just find it in any sunset. You gotta go far, you gotta go alone, and you gotta go to your own empty. I like that a little bit. Next comes, so that was 2, distraction and agency and the great indifference. Next comes a 5 principles that go together. Temperance, why can't I remember? Temperance, it's right there. Unfortunately, these things are all in the book, so I can just look it up if I forget. Oh, there it is. Temperance. What? This is an old copy. It's all mixed up. Oh, this is a real old copy. Oh my gosh, I'm all mixed up. Let's see if I can go back a few and wind up and come winding down the road and see if I can figure it out, okay? Atomic principle, principle of nature, maturity, atomic principle of nature, pirate ride, maturity, social principle, public speaking, distraction, agency and the great indifference, temperance, life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be born in the feast of Woeful. There they are. That's the 5. Temperance, life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be born in the feast of Woeful. All these 5s together simply suggest that we have to use fortitude, our ability to control ourselves, to control our consumption, to deal with the fact that life will have difficulties, even horror show, horror level difficulties. And we have to learn to bear those things and to not take them out, take our upset out on others. That was easy. 5 and 1. After that comes the best seat in the house, to be all right with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing right now, right here, right who. Then comes 4 principles that go together: the restless man, the path of wildness, the great life adventure, or maybe it's 3. Oh no, and then the risk of avoiding risk. The path of wildness is the restlessness that we feel at a young age. Not all of us feel of it, but those of us that do, we better do something about it. And I recommend hopping on the path of wildness, which is an off-ramp from one life into another. I just got off the path of wildness. Yumiko and I made this transition to this new place in Huntington Beach from Menifee, our big place in Menifee. We were on the path of wildness. It ain't easy. We've been on it many times, but it's good. It's invigorating. It breaks up the status quo. And it leads to a great life adventure, which we're in the midst of now, which is invigorating. It's like, wow, it's like having a life vacation. And so Yumiko and I are kind of it's part and parcel of who we are. We've done this so many times together. It's the thing that connects us and binds us, our interest in living an interesting life at all times. Or, not all times, but you get the idea, mixing it up. Having a couple of great life adventures, or just one, especially if it's a big one at an early age, will yield benefits all throughout our lives. it'll put to rest a lot of that desire and wonder about what did I miss? And then the last one there is the risk of avoiding risk. There's two layers of risk in life, generally speaking. The surface layer and the deep layer. The surface layer consists of 5 risks: education, career, home, family, and old age, saving for old age. So being prepared for retirement. Put those together, and you spend your entire life working on that stuff, and it's very fulfilling. But there's also, for some of us, most of us maybe, a deep longing for something else. That's the deep risk. The longing to explore and to try things out and to, be something or have an adventure of some sort. If we don't give ourselves that, if we feel that draw at an early age and we don't do it, watch out. It'll haunt us all of our lives, most likely. And it never quite goes away. Although you can kind of wall yourself away from it. You can wall it up inside like Edgar Allan Poe's Cask of Amontillado story. But watch out. It's in there. Or the telltale heart. Tick, tick, tick. The only way you can really, is the word ameliorate that risk, is by addressing it. Preferably early. Preferably well. It's hard to do both, the surface and the deep risk. It's tough to do. Usually people focus on one or the other. I focus too much on the deep one. So as a result, I'm not as rich or secure in my dawning old age as I would otherwise have been. But if I could only pick the two, I'd pick the deep risk. It's the one that yields the greater peace. I like that too. Okay, now closing in on the end here. Then comes sin and damnation. There are 7 sins, 8 sins in my worldview. Falsity, being untrue. Credulity, believing things too readily. Faith, believing things where the belief is the foundation for the belief. That's circular. Authority, believing things based on the impressed by somebody's eloquence, speech, or presentation. Dogma, believing things because we want to follow a canonical truth or a historic or precedent or tradition. And then rumor and gossip. I think I missed one. Oh, superstition. Nonsense. Don't do any of those things because the consequence is damnation, not in any afterlife, but in the here and now. Complete oblivion. If there's no soul, no God, no afterlife, then after we're dead, that's it. There'll be no final reunion with forever. And as a result, there'll be no final reunion with our loved ones, no reconciliation with them for anything that we died on bad terms for, and no justice, because there's no justice giver. So seek after the better life now while we have a chance. Bullseyeing, we shoot for the mark, but we usually miss. Uphill climb, today's going to be a steady climb. I'm going to climb higher today. I'm going to do better. I'm going to improve. Arena and utility. Life is an arena for the development of good objectives and principles that we can use every day in the course of our challenges and opportunities. Nothing is enough. You'd be surprised, I'd be surprised at how much we can get by with nothing or less, little. And then finally, the principle of fun. Let's have a good time today. Let's remember the good times of yesterday. Let's plan for some good times for tomorrow and beyond. That's it. That's my 7 objectives and 37 principles, 32 principles, the good life creed, so to speak. Now let's plan for today. It's just 5 o'clock right now, 5 a.m. I'll finish this, upload this. I'll read my Bible. I'm in Hosea. I think I'm in Hosea 10 this morning that I'll be studying. And then I'll feed the dogs, I'll walk the dogs. Then I'll come in and I'll change into my work clothes. I'll start my day. I'm going to do the first half of the day from home, and then I'm going to drive to work at lunch and finish the day at the office. There's an office party this afternoon that I don't want to miss. And then I'll come back. I may not be able to swim today. There may not be any opportunity, or maybe I'll swim after dark. Maybe I'll throw the stuff on the bike and just go to swim right after dark, after I get back, before I come home. Maybe. So let's plan today. So I'm going to put a little section over here. What do I want to achieve today to make today a good use of time? Well, I want to do my job, my work, well. I want to be deliberate throughout the day. I want to be slow throughout the day. Not slow like molasses, but slow like a wise old man. I used to watch the old men in Japan. They have a characteristic way of walking slowly with their hands clasped behind their back. I'm understanding now more what that entails. I like it. Not for the show, but for the restraint. I think that's enough for today. To work hard, be deliberate and slow. That's my goals for today. Very, very loosey-goosey, huh? That's it. That's my good life creed for today. I hope you have a great day. Let's do that. I wish you all the best. And remember to be safe, but not too safe. Take care.